So I am recording these. I'll tell you the name. Oh, did you guys? Was everybody able to get that website address?
I just emailed it to everybody.
Oh, thank you, Robert. So I'm
My email person.
no. Then Diana, I can tell you. I'll do for you. I can give it to you on a hard drive.
I did send it to you too, but I know you're trying to get it.
She can't get it to her
I
email.
can't get it to any of the emails, so I'm just, thank you person.
Um, was everybody else able to get this stuff? Is everybody else okay on this? So there's only one file. There's a folder on here called upload. You just need to grab all of that. It's got all the PDFs and everything in it that we actually want.
Which was the workflow?
There's a bunch of stuff in there, so we're going to go through it really quickly. I'm going to try to make this as fast as I can, guys. The plan today is to go through really quickly. They have decided to they've actually decided, and I've gone through this a little bit, so I'm going to give you a little bit of preamble here, make sure that I'm still actually recording here. Okay, I am. A little bit of preamble about this. So what has happened, Ross was hoping, and I was actually hoping with him as well, that they were going to come up with an online storage solution that was going to be viable for us. That we, instead of everybody having to have a personal little hard drive, students I'm specifically talking about now, that we would actually have stuff for online. And there were three options that we really had that were possible candidates for it. And the first one was, and I think it's what is supposed to be replacing our server system here, and they call it Isilon. Film department has been using this for quite some time. It's a monster, apparently. It's a huge server farm somewhere out in the western suburbs that we have. I think the film department anyway has fiber connection to it, and they have massive amount of space that they are giving to those students. We are in negotiation apparently to find out how much space we are going to get from them, but the last thing that we heard was something like, maybe you can probably tell me differently, but the last I heard was something like 25 megabytes or 250 megabytes. It was something completely ridiculous. It was just not usable for us. So that was out. So the second option that we actually have is Adobe. So Adobe, with the new licensing system that they're going into, they are giving all the students 100 gigabytes of, or at least that's what we're understanding right now, 100 gigabytes of storage, which is not the best or the worst thing, whatever. It's sort of okay, but it's really not enough to actually work, to do the kind of work that we do in the photo department. And the biggest problem that we have with that is that storage has to be tied to a folder on your desktop or on an external hard drive. So the problem that we have is that you can store files up on Adobe's website, but you either have to download them to your computer in order to work with them, or you have to work with them on the website itself, actually on Adobe's website, which means you need to use Adobe's online tools. So there is a version of Lightroom now that works on Adobe's online version of your files, and it is the most dumbed down version of Lightroom that you can possibly imagine. So one of the primary takeaways from today is, if you've got students who are thinking that they are going to use the Adobe online version of Lightroom as opposed to the one that's actually on their computer, no, they're not. You can't even print from it. So what good does it do us? Right? So that option's out. So the third and final option is actually the whole Microsoft thing, and the thing that's being managed by Microsoft now. So all of us now have Office 365. We all have access to that online. You pretty much can't do. They are now managing everything for us. They're managing all our passwords. They're managing everything for us. So what is happening now is that system, they have actually given us a full terabyte of data storage. And I've explored the whole process of that, and again, it has the same downfall that the Adobe online platform, storage platform actually has for us, in that you have to have a local file that's being mirrored in this online platform. So we can't get away from storing local files right now. That has not happened for us because, again, in the Microsoft platform, pretty much like the Adobe platform, is that the way they've designed it is that you can put all your files up there and you use their online applications to work with your online files. There is no online application for Photoshop. There's no online application for Lightroom that is worth using. And we can't access Microsoft's partition to do that with anyway. So the long and the short of it is we have to still, at this stage of the game, maintain a local hard drive. However, one of the best things that we do have, though, is we can set up an automatic backup using the partition at Microsoft Server's platform. So that, how many of you guys have had students who've lost all their files because their hard drive crashed? Yeah, all of us, right? Yeah. So what I'm going to show you today is a way to actually set things up so that there is an automatic backup that's happening online with Microsoft, and that if in the event of a hard drive crash, all of your files will be backed up online and you will be able to recover them. But that's as far as it goes. There is no working off that online part, off that online server partition. It is strictly about backup. That's it. So what I'm going to go through with you guys today is we're going to start off a real basic here, talking about how to format a hard drive. We will get through that part really quickly. Dana, can you do me a favor? I brought you guys a present, but you don't get to keep it. Just grab one of these hard drives and pass it on. Say what? Oh, yeah. Does anybody else need, did everybody else get those files to download? Okay. So just grab one of these little jump drives. All these jump drives have been formatted the way you would typically get a hard drive, because I want to go through that process with you guys. And the reason I want to go through the process with you is that we have been having some issues with, so pretty much 99% of the hard drives that you get in this country are formatted to function on a PC on Windows. There are companies that sell hard drives that are specifically formatted for Macintosh, but they're very few and far between. A Macintosh hard drive will not work on a PC, but a PC hard drive will work on a Macintosh. But again, we have been having issues, formatting issues. We've been running into a problem with that. So my suggestion to everyone is that if you know that you are going to be working in an exclusive Macintosh environment, that you actually format your hard drives for Macintosh. If you're not, if you're working in a multiple environment, you're going back and forth between PC and Mac, I will show you how to format this hard drive for that environment. But again, if you are in a pretty much a Mac-only environment, I just think this gets away of several issues. Now, there's the last thing that we need to talk about really quickly before we get in there. And well, actually, I'll wait till we get in there, and then we'll actually take a look at it. So does everybody have one of these hard drives, including me? And I just need you to plug it in, and something should come up on your screen that just says Untitled, and it's in all caps. And hopefully that'll happen for you. And it should look like this. So is anybody not getting this? All right. So do me a favor, guys. I can sit here, and you all know this because you all teach. I can sit here forever and say, is everybody okay? Is everybody okay? That's kind of a waste of time. So let's just do this. I'm just going to keep going on and assume that it's working for everyone. But if it's not working for you, please, please, please stop me. Because if we cannot get this hard drive formatted and correct, then going in to set up our OneDrive on Microsoft server is not going to be possible either. So just please let me know and just stop me, and we'll go from there. Okay, so with this thing actually sitting out on your desktop like this, again, I pre-formatted all of these to be what you would expect to get from the majority of the vendors that you buy hard drives from. To actually format this hard drive, I need everybody to go to their application folder. So again, and in my case, I've got a window up right here. I'll show you what it looks like without a window. So I simply double-click my what most people have is they call a Macintosh hard drive. Mine is actually called a. Can you guys see this, or do we need to kill some lights? Are we okay on this? Yeah, Robert, if we kill leave those two switches on right there, and then kill everybody else except for the three on the far left, that's for the lab. Is that better? Yeah, okay. Anyway, this, I call it a boot drive. You guys, typically, if you haven't changed it, it's just your Macintosh HD. If you simply double click on it, it opens up a window like this. If you want your screen to look like the way mine does, the one thing I hate is this. I hate icons on mine. I actually use the third one over, the sort of tree version of this. With that tree version, you can actually then click on applications, and there should be a whole list of applications in here. Go all the way down, almost all the way down to the bottom, to the utilities folder. Inside the utilities folder, you will find the disk utility, and you want to double click that guy and launch it. And when you launch this thing, it will open up and it will show you anything that's actually connected to your computer. Now, some of you guys, depending on the system that you are on, for me, I am working with I am with Sierra right now. If you want to see what one you're on, come up to the Apple menu down to About This Macintosh, and you'll see I'm on system 1012. Robert, do we have any idea the college's plans for what they're upgrading to now? I think they're on. I think these are 1013. Can somebody check for me? 1014. Is that Mojave?
Yeah, that's Mojave.
So we were assured that that wasn't going to be the case. Mojave is. How do I say this? It's cluster, and then there's another word that follows that we all know. It's a nightmare. It is broken. Half of what I actually use. If you're trying to do any sort of print profiling, it's a nightmare. If you're trying to do Wacom tablets, it's a nightmare. It's just a nightmare. We were supposed to stay at least one version behind, was my understanding, but apparently not. So at any rate, that being said, your screen then in this disk utility is going to look slightly different. You're going to have a different set of options in there. And if it becomes wildly different, I will change this to this computer and we'll go through it. But we should be able to get through everything we need to get through here first. So hopefully what you guys see on your left-hand side over here is you should have an internal and external. Is that still, does it look anything at all like this? Of course not.
I mean, a little bit, but it's different.
Okay, but it's still kind of
Still,
close to this.
yeah.
Okay, yeah, so it's still kind of close to this. So you'll see, this is my internal hard drive. I've got it. Mine's simply partitioned. So if you don't know what that means, don't worry. We don't need to get into that. But this is a single hard drive. What I care about is this external. So if you look under the external thing, you should see a thing that says media, and underneath that untitled. This is that little jump drive that you just put in there. If you click on the top of the drive right here that actually says media, so I'm not clicking on the untitled part, although we could probably do it from both, but nonetheless, I'm going to click on the media part and come up to the menu up at the top. You should have an erase button that is now available to you. Does everyone?
So, sir, I only have, under external, I only have untitled. I don't have media.
Then they've hidden this part, so it's fine. Go ahead and just click the untitled part. And then now do you have an active erase button at the top available to you? Click on erase. And this is actually going to come down, and you are able to change the name of it right here. And in this case, you'll see it's in all caps. In my case, I'm going to use this drop-down menu, and this is where things will be different for you. You will still have all of these options. You'll have Mac OS Extended Journal, Extended Case Sensitive, exFAT, MS-DOS FAT, MS-DOS FAT 32, and then you should have another one.
I don't think so.
Nope. You don't? So they're not letting us do Apple's new file system?
You got the first four that you have up there.
Got it. So maybe, would you have any idea why that's not? Because I know why they are not. Maybe it's because the hard drive itself can't be formatted that way. Okay, just so that you guys know this, because it's a problem that we've actually run into with students, is that with High Sierra, the one before Mojave system, Apple introduced a new file system called it's AFPS or anyway, it's Apple's new file system, whatever. If somebody buys a brand new Macintosh, that's what it comes formatted in, and there is a problem with utilities that we use to work on hard drives. So for instance, there is no disk recovery software that I know of right now that will work on this new Apple format system. So if you have a hard drive crash, you're just out. As far as I know, I don't know anybody who has upgraded theirs to actually function with this new system. So at least in the short term, I am suggesting people stick with the old system because it will work on any computer and you can recover it. Does that sort of make sense? That's within certain limits. You can recover it. So at any rate, for us, if you want to stay in a Windows world, you would click on this MS-DOS FAT. and you would then simply erase the hard drive based on that. But in our case, what we want to do is we want to change this to MS Extended Journal. That's what we want to actually do on this. And then you want to click Erase. Now, I think what's happening here is that this is not giving us a way to pick a partitioning scheme for this. We'll see what it looks like in just a second. So at any rate, hopefully you will get done up here if that has happened. In some cases, you will not get done, and instead you'll get an error warning that comes up. When I was formatting these jump drives, I went through, I would get an error warning 3 or 4 times in a row. Just keep doing this. Keep it up again. I'm going to go ahead and leave this just titled like that. Run it a second time, run it a third time until you get it to go. So did this work for everyone? All right. So this thing is now formatted for a Macintosh, and you can actually see somewhere down in here. It's not going to show it to me down in here. We'll see what it looks like outside. But at any rate, this is actually ready to go for a Macintosh now. But you should know this is no longer readable on a PC. Okay? Any questions about that part? So that's formatting in a nutshell. What a lot of people will suggest that you do at this stage of the game is run first aid on this. There's really nothing on here, but it'll simply check the directory of all of this. So you can take a look, and as long as you get this okay done and you're fine, whatever. So this is actually ready to go. So we can now quit this disk utility. It's done everything we wanted to do. This hard drive on here looks shockingly like it does before, although mine's not mounted. What is up with that? Is yours mounted?
Yeah.
This is why mine's not mounted, and it's what I'm worrying about with yours as well, is that in your software, well, we'll see. If you're old school like this, just to show you what, and this is exactly what I was talking about right here, is you get this error warning that comes up and it says it can't do that. So I'm simply going to hit done again. If you're working old school like the version system software that I'm working in right now for disk utility, instead of just having that untitled part, you've actually got, it's showing you the media. It's just telling you that this jump drive is in there. I'm going to click erase again. In this case, you have one additional option, and it's this scheme option right here. Again, I think they've removed this. Because you don't have the option to use it in when you guys did your erase. So if you are going to do PC software formatting, you would come down to this MS-DOS and you would pick Master Boot Record. If you were doing it for Macintosh, you stay up at Macintosh Extended Journal. You do not want to do the case-sensitive version of it. It's the one at the very top. And you want to change the scheming partition to this GUID partition and then hit erase again and pray. Unfortunately, and I'm just going to say this, come right out and say this, Apple used to make really, really great software for computers, and then the iPhone came along, and Apple does not give a shit about their software for their computers. They could care less about this stuff. There's a whole community out there, they call it Apple rot. And this stuff is just janky. It's awful. Anything I can find to get away from Apple utility stuff, I do, because it's terrible. So imagine that. I just got an error saying media is corrupt. Oh, just run it again, and it's fine. Really? Anyway, sorry, I'm going to rant a little bit about Apple, but when I get to Adobe, I'm going off the charts. So anyway, all right, I'm going to just say done to that. Again, mine will hopefully show up now on my computer. And it's sitting right here, and this is actually the hard drive that we're going to actually try to set up our OneDrive on. Okay, is everybody good about this? All right, so did everybody get all the software downloaded that I asked you guys, or the PDFs that I asked everybody to download? Okay, good. Let me get to mine really quickly to the thing that you guys have. Okay, so it's in the workflow and guides. I think that's where I've got this. Yeah, it's in the workflow and guides, and there's a PDF in here called OneDrive Setup for Macintosh. So this is what I want to do first, because Before we actually, so this is the plan. I don't know if I told you this, guy, but this is the plan that I'm going to go through today. We've gotten through the format hard drive. I want to get through the whole OneDrive setup part. This is the Microsoft connection part that we're going to get through. We're then going to actually go out into the digital lab, and we're going to do printing from Photoshop to both Canon and Epson, and then we're going to do printing from Lightroom to both Canon and Epson. And that, hopefully, we're going to be able to get through that in the morning. Then the afternoon is simply dedicated to Lightroom workflow. Now, most of you guys, the Lightroom workflow from last year has not changed. So most of you guys know that part. There's some of you guys, I'm not really sure that anybody who's actually working specifically, I'm not sure that the people who are working the counter or the back of the digital lab are really responsible for helping students with their Lightroom workflow. I think that's really more of an instructor-based thing. But at any rate, if you want a refresher on it, fine. If you already know it, then there's no reason to go through it again. The PDF for it is really extensive, exhaustive. So I'm just trying to lay this out, and we're doing it in this direction so that if you already are comfortable with your Lightroom workflow and you know that whole routine, you don't have to stay here for the afternoon. In fact, you don't have to stay here for any of this. So anyway, I feel like I'm, all right. Everybody good on that part? Okay, so if you double click on this OneDrive setup, it's pretty exhaustive because, again, this is a brand new system for us, so I didn't want to leave anything open to this. So it's going to show you pretty much, hopefully, everything and talk about it, and I'm simply going to walk through this with you guys. I have removed OneDrive from my computer so that I'm going to go through exactly the things that you guys are going to go through. So the first thing that we need to do when it talks about how to set up OneDrive on a Macintosh, you've got to download the application for it. So all of a sudden I see a problem here. Is these computers going to let us download an application and run it?
Probably not.
Well, let's find out.
All of us should have a OneDrive.
It's just a question of whether we can put an application on one of these computers. John, you can unlock all these computers, can't you?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's just a question of security. We'll see. Let's find out. So at any rate, if you there's a hot link right here that's actually called OneDrive. It's the OneDrive website. If you simply click on that, it'll take you to the Microsoft website that has got the piece of software that we need to download. So you have to have this piece of software down on your computer. It's the bridge between your account online and your local account. So simply click on download, and it actually should take you to the download page, and it will offer to give you a OneDrive download and say, where do you want to put this guy? By default now, my computer has said they're going to start hiding extensions. I hate hiding extensions because with this thing just called OneDrive and no extension, I don't know if this is the installer package or this is the program itself. So I uncheck that. You'll see it's now OneDrive.pkg. You actually want to put that in your download folder. This is where you want to download it to. So again, I'm showing the extension. I'm putting it in my download folder. Is this working for, because I'm just making sure your screens look like my screens. Yep. Nope. What is your screen? It won't let you download, or what does it look like?
Mine downloaded.
It downloaded. Where did it go?
Just went up here to the download.
Oh, so you're fine. That's exactly what it was supposed to do. Your screen is supposed to do
mine just didn't ask where to go.
Okay. Yeah, wow. The more they advance the software, the less they actually give you. All right, so is everybody comfortable? Did it all get downloaded to your download folder or your desktop, either one? All right, I'm going to simply save mine. I've already got one down there. So it's downloaded. So now, once this has happened and it's completed, you need to go find that guy. And to go find that guy, I've gone back into my Finder. I'm going to go to my download folder. If you can't find it in here really quickly, you can always click your drop-down menu right here and change the sorting order of this folder from name to date added, and it'll be sitting at the very top. And you need to run it. So double-click on it, and we're going to run it. It's going to say we're going to be guided through, and this is where we can run into problems. And we're going to go ahead and install this, and you've got to put in a password. And if you guys get hung at that password, John's going to run around and type it in for everybody really quickly.
Yeah, this one's not working.
That'll be the biggest challenge, hopefully, that we have today. All right, so is everybody good on that part? All right, so I'm going to go ahead and close mine. It offers to move it to the trash for me, which I typically do. I don't need to download it again. I'm going to go back and take a look at our next steps in the PDF. So that's the part that we've actually just gone through right here. Again, and it walks everybody. So this is designed to actually walk a student through it if they're on their own. So click the download button. It puts it in the download folder. You need to then double click on this to follow the screen instructions for installing it. And then we actually need to open our application folder and launch this guy. And in this case, you're going to get a one-time setup in here that we need to actually do step-by-step through. So I'm going back into my Finder, to my application folder, down to my OneDrive. It's sitting right here. This is the new one, the application that just got installed, and double-click on it to actually launch it. And of course, I may be running into problems here that you guys are not going to run into because I've already installed this once before.
It's asking me for an email to sign in.
So the email that you sign in, again, this will be back in the PDF. So this is what you use to sign in. So actually right down here, it's going to say enter your, so this is what it's saying is enter your email address here, right? Yeah, so go ahead. The email that you want to put in is your full email address. So it's going to be the whole thing, including the @columbia.edu. And then click on sign in, and it's going to ask for your password. And your password is the password that you've been using all along to sign into everything. And while you guys do that, I'm going to try to recover from this mess. Yeah, mine already knows that I'm actually in here, so I'm going to leave it up at this part. So then when you went ahead and signed in, I need to see what screen you guys actually have now. You have this guy right here. So go ahead and then, yeah, put that guy in. But you guys have that screen, which is exactly what we want to have. So by default, what would happen if we didn't do anything else at this stage of the game, if you just hit next, what it would do is it would actually add this, they call it OneDrive dash Columbia College Chicago, and they put it in your user at this level of your user folder. So they don't stick it inside, they don't put it inside your documents, they don't put it inside pictures, they just add it to this stage of the game right here. That's not what we want to do. We actually want to put it on we want our folder to be on the hard drive that we just formatted, because again, what we're going to hopefully have students do is they're going to keep their Lightroom library with all of their raw files on that external hard drive, and that is the file, that is the folder that we want to automatically sync up to the Microsoft platform OneDrive. Does that make sense? All right, so again, this will work you through right here. Before you actually log into this, you need to make sure that your external hard drive is mounted. Now, we actually did that because at this stage of the game, we are going to change the default location. So you can see at the very bottom is the button. We're going to actually click on change location, and then we are going to select our hard drive. That's what's going on in this PDF. So again, I'm going to go back to my OneDrive. I'm going to click on change location. A dialog box will open up, and you need to scroll down and you need to click on your untitled, in this case, your untitled hard drive. Now again, most students are going to name their hard drive something like Kitty or Billy or whatever they name it as, right? So anyway, it wouldn't be called untitled, but you get that part, right? Okay, so I'm going to say choose this location. And it's going to say down here now that and you can actually confirm it down here, that your OneDrive dash Columbia College Chicago is going to be put on your untitled hard drive, and it's going to be in a folder called OneDrive dash Columbia Chicago. Did that happen for everyone? All right, then simply hit next. And it's going to say will be created, and you can't create the selected, try a different one. Did you guys get the same thing? Yeah. So what is happening now, my suspicion is that these jump drives are too small. Because again, the thing that we're trying to sync up at the top is a terabyte partition, and we're trying to sync it up now to a 16 gigabyte thumb drive. So instead, I am going to plug in my, you guys will not be able to do this. I was hoping, but of course, everyone makes this impossible. I'm going to plug in my regular SSD hard drive. So I've got a much larger hard drive right here. And I'm going to see if this part works. And if it does work, then again, it'll just show you guys the process that we're going through. Because once this part happens, it's pretty much, everything is pretty straightforward after this. So I'm going to say choose a new location. Hopefully it's going to let me put this on my larger SSD. Again, I get the verification down here that it's going on the larger SSD, and I'm going to go ahead and click Next. And it says we can't sync that. Sorry, add your OneDrive to college folder right now. Please close this and try again. Wow, it's great to know that Microsoft is writing just as good a software as Apple. So I'm simply going through the steps again. It's asking me to put in all this again. It's asking me for the setup again. I'm going to change location again. I'm going to go to my external hard drive again and choose this location, and hopefully it will work. And it's saying, do you want to sync all of your files? This is the next screen that would have come up had you guys had enough room on your external hard drive. So you can see that it's actually saying, and I'm going to leave all of this checked. If you take a look at our PDF, it goes through the exact same thing. This is the screen that I'm at right now. And again, I'm leaving on sync all the files and folders that are in that OneDrive, and then there's a little check marks in there. And so we're just leaving this as it is. Again, all of this is being checked. I'm saying yes to all of this part. And then again, I'm going to go ahead and say OK to that. So I'm going to say Next. And it's going to say Open your OneDrive Columbia Chicago folder. And if you click on this Columbia Drive folder, again, this won't happen for you guys now, but you can see it's actually navigated to my external hard drive. And that external hard drive is sitting right here right now. And it's actually now syncing to my online version of this. Does that make sense for you guys? So instead, what I'm going to ask you guys to do, and again, I don't know if it's going to let us do this, but let's go, because I want to continue this process with you guys actually working with OneDrive. So when you got that error message, did it offer to let you change locations again?
Yes.
So you're going to change locations again. So just run it a second time. Run the application a second time, Diana. So just go to, yeah, don't install it again. Just run that guy again. Double click. Click on Change Location again, and then in your new location, simply click your, I think you can get to your user folder. Scroll down to the bottom there, just a second. We need to simply do it on your user partition, so going up to the top. So these guys are, what are the hard drives of these internal hard drives named?
It's written on the computer, on the tag. This would be like 917 dash.
But is it mounted here? Is it this SSD?
I believe so.
Yeah, click on SSD.
If you go into the Go menu and hit computer, all the drives for this computer should pop up.
Yeah, but I can't access that from the internal part, the folder. I mean the guide that I'm on right now. So do this really quickly, guys. Come out to your Finder. No, go for it, John. Got it. So how do I then change that location? So I'm back into, come back down to OneDrive. I need to actually find that as a place to choose. Got it. Yeah. Okay, and so we're going to put it on to this, but we need to, again, scroll down to the bottom, go down to User Settings, to Users, and we're going to put this on, which one are we calling the default user setting for this? It's got to be the one that's got the little house. So the Add Guest, and then choose that as the location. So I'm sorry, guys, this is like, couldn't be more of a... So who could not find their home folder? Because that's all we needed to really do. Okay, so I'm going to suggest you do this. To find your home folder, come back out to the Finder really quickly. come up to the Finder menu right here, come down to Preferences, and in Preferences, make sure that you check hard drives. Was that unchecked in yours? Yeah, hard disk. Was that unchecked? Go ahead and check it now and say OK. And then let's go back into OneDrive again, the application, and you should be able to find a home folder now. Is that possible? Your number should actually show up. So again, hey John, can you do a quick round and troubleshoot this part? So we're going to click on change location here. Yeah. And again, this guy is, we haven't showed it yet, so come back to the Finder. Finder. And come up to Finder, Preferences. Good. And hard disks is on, so that should be available to us now. Come back to change location. Oh, well, here it is right here. It's this 917 guy right here. So go ahead and click on that, and then your home is locked. Oh, I'm sorry, click on users. It's not locked. And then click on the little house. And that's where you want to choose. So click choose location. Okay. So for me, I just went to Finder really quick. Go to Finder, to the menu, come down to Preferences, enable hard drive, so that part is enabled, so it's like, so then in the change location window, so go ahead and choose location. Yeah, it's not the SSD. Go, and then, yeah, and then come down to users, and there's the home, and then choose that location. Okay.
Choose this location.
This is exactly what we're looking for. Is the address. So simply go choose location. And it's going to sync all of that because you got stuff on yours already. Okay. And then you can click on this to go to your local home. That's where it is. Close. Yep. Yeah. All right. Who else needs? Who else? Has everybody else got this? We good? Everybody's good? Sorry, I don't know what that was.
So Verser, mine's all set up on here.
Say what?
Is mine all set up then? It's on this one?
It is. It should be set up in here. So if you click on this guy, we need to get to the users. Click on users. And then click on add guest. And your OneDrive should be in here, and it's not in here. So we need to run this one more time. But you can go ahead and put in your email. And your password. Actually, it's asking for that again.
Because I already did this.
Yeah, there we go.
Just look at it. Sorry.
No, it's okay. Wow, that was fun. We're almost there, guys. So we're going to change it. Actually, it says it's right where it needs to be. So just hit next. And go ahead and hit next. And then click on that because it should take you to the folder. And just put it there. No, I saw it. Just put it there. They're lying to us. Okay, so that's your actual folder that we're syncing to. Okay, wow, that was fun. All right. So if you look up at the very top, I'm back in the Finder menu right now. If you look at the very top, does everybody see this thing that looks like a little cloud? Does anybody not have that thing that looks like a little cloud at the top? It's a little black one. If you click on this, it should open up. There's a drop-down window, and hopefully you got a check mark here that says you're all set, and then tells you that it's going to give you a lot of money for Christmas, and it's going to send you birthday cards, and it loves you, and it's going to have sex with you tonight, and it's really good at it, and it's all sorts of feel good things, right? No, actually, it's just your set. So in this is the easiest way to navigate and to find stuff around. So with all the difficulty you just had to find your actual folder that's your local one, this is the easiest way to get to it. So if you click on that drop-down menu, you've got two options down here. You've got Open Folder. If you click on that, it should take you to that partition that is your OneDrive Columbia-Chicago, and you should see it sitting there empty. If you look down at the bottom, I don't know if you guys have your tree visible down at the bottom showing you where it is, but it's showing me exactly where I put this OneDrive folder. And in your case, it should be in the home folder that's on your computer. Did that work for everyone?
I have it, but it's not empty.
Yours is not empty? Then did you already have stuff? Do you already have a OneDrive set up? Yeah, and so it's already syncing to yours. So yeah. Robert's brought his up, and there's like 300,000 files on Robert's, and it's all of a sudden started syncing immediately down that. So I would strongly suggest that before you guys leave today, you erase that folder unless you want somebody to have access to all the files that you just synced to this computer. Okay, if you go back up to the same thing again, to that same little icon again, and you come down and you click on View Online, it will take you to the online partition of this. And it'll go in, and you can see in this case mine is empty because, again, I've done a lot of testing on this, but I went ahead and erased everything. So I have nothing in mind. So for those of you who already do have stuff, you should be seeing your stuff right now. And if you're not, please let me know, because that's a problem. For everybody else, it should pretty much look like this screen right here. It should be absolutely nothing on it.
Where did you click to get to that screen?
So again, if you go back into the Finder, and you click on that the cloud thing up in the menu, you're clicking on the View Online. These two represent your two folders. The Open folder is your local one. The View Online one is your online version. And so if you click on that again, it's taking me to this blank folder that's actually online for me. Does that make sense for everyone? We good on this part? Okay, to see how this is ultimately going to work, this is what we need to do now. So I'm going to jump back out of this. I'm not even going to bother to go to my online part, but actually do me a favor here. This actually might be an easier way to deal with this whole part. Go back up to that little icon for OneDrive that's at the very top. Click on that. Come down and click on your Open folder, and it actually should pop open. And then at the very top, so you've got a screen that for those of you who've got files already up there, they're downloading right now. For those of you who have nothing, this whole thing should be blank. Is that good? Then I want you to simply grab the icon. Take a look at the icon that I've got right up here that says OneDrive. It's the little icon of the folder that's in this window right here. If you click on that and drag it over to your favorites, we will be able to find this thing much, much easier. So we'll be able to find this. It's just a faster way to get to it. Does that make sense to everyone? So are we all good on that part? Okay. So now that actually is getting us through. If we take a look at the OneDrive setup, I want to go through and take just a quick look at the rest of this just so everybody's aware of what's going on here. At this stage of the game, we move into our typical Lightroom setup. Now this is the setup that has existed here since Ross wrote it all the way back. It's been modified slightly, but it goes back to how we suggested students actually set up their Lightroom structure is sitting right here. So we're going to go through these steps right here. But is everybody familiar with this part? So the way it started here at Columbia, and it goes back a few years, is you create a folder on this in this partition called Lightroom Library. Inside of that, you put your another folder called Camera Files, another folder called Catalogs, and another folder called Exports. So this is now reiterating exactly the stuff that has existed in the Lightroom setup workflow. So if everybody could quickly go to, again, that whole group of PDFs that I sent to you. Inside that PDF is a thing called Lightroom Workflow, another PDF of that. If you could just launch that guy really quickly. I just want to make sure that everybody understands the place that we're actually on. When you open this, there is a 2-page intro to this that is really, you should consider this the quick start guides. If you've already got all of this stuff set up, this is the fast way to simply import your images. We are going to go past that right now. This is once everything has already been set up. If a student can't remember how to import something after you've helped them do all the setup, this is just the quick version of it. It's 1 page long to actually get them to be able to import. Then there's a second page that's how you export. Again, it's 1 page. It's a quick user guide as far as that goes. But now if you get to the 3rd page, you will go through exactly the process that we have gone through here about how to format hard drives, how to initialize all of this, and going through all of this. Keep going down. This is simply about doing all the formatting part that we've already done, blah, 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 blah. We get down, we keep going down, and then I'm actually down here at page number 6, and you will notice that it says right here, set up Microsoft OneDrive first. You need to establish this local OneDrive folder so that all of the Lightroom catalogs, raw files, and exports live inside that folder so that everything is automatically backed up. So, are there questions about this? All right, so we're going to do that. Go back to the Finder. Inside the Finder, you should be able to, again, if you made that favorites like I asked you to do, you can simply click on this and it will take you to that empty blank folder. And we're going to put a new folder inside of this according to the recipe that exists in the workflow and has existed here forever. So if you click on this hard drive, and guys, we're going to get this set up and then we're going to take a quick break. I promise I'm not going to keep you. I'm not going to kill you here. So I just want to get this part set up and then we'll actually do some file parts and then we'll take a quick break. I'm sorry, we'll just get it set up and then we'll take a break. Okay, so if you, yeah,
Can I show you something real quick?
sure.
I have OneDrive folder.
Yeah, this is exactly where you want to be. And it's actually got attachments in there. I have no idea. Let's see what's in attachments. Nothing. All right, so anyway, just click on the out. It doesn't matter. We're just still in that same designated folder area. So click inside of this. For me, I actually hold down Shift Command and hit N. That puts in a blank folder. If you can't remember that, simply come up to the new to the File menu and come down to New Folder. And you need to rename this untitled folder, and you need to call it Lightroom Library. And simply click outside of it to actually go ahead and commit that name to it. And you'll see that there is a check mark next to this. So for any of you guys who work with Dropbox, you'll notice it's the same sort of metaphor for this. That is simply telling you that this has already been synced up to your online partition part of it.
I don't have a check mark.
You don't? Well, let's see how it goes. We'll keep going on this and we'll see what happens here. If you click on the Lightroom library, we are going to put those 3 folders inside here that we just talked about. And again, I'm going to go back to my PDFs. You can either follow the steps right here in the setting up Lightroom part, or you can do it in the OneDrive setup. It's the same exact thing. I copied one and pasted it in the other. So inside that Lightroom library, we need to put in 3 folders, one called Camera Files, one called Catalogs, and one called Exports. So I'm going to do that right now. So inside this, again, I simply do Command New. It gives me an untitled folder, and it's Camera Files. And hit OK. And then you need to click, if you do another new folder right now, it's going to nest it inside this Camera Files folder. You don't want that to happen. You want to click simply in this so that you put the next folder in the same tier along with Camera Files. So again, Shift Command N, and call this one Catalogs. And then finally click out of it one more time, and then again, one last new folder, and it's Exports. And then what you should have right now, if you use the tree version of all of this, what you should see is that you have your OneDrive partition that's right here. Inside of it, you've got your Lightroom library, and inside of that, you've got Camera Files, Catalogs, and Exports, which is exactly how this is described right here. Did that work for everyone? Perfect. Good time to take a break. So you guys